I genuinely feel like this group has saved my life, let alone changed my life. And I mean that like sincerely.
I think they're already too cold.
So I'm going to get straight into it. So, first question I'd love to ask you is, how do you feel like your life's changed as a result of being in this group for the last year?
Well, is this isn't a hard question to answer in that like it's a hard question. It's a hard question to answer in like where do I start? Do you know what I mean? Because not to kind of go straight in there with a big old cheesy one, but like I genuinely feel like this group has saved my life, let alone changed my life. And I mean that like sincerely. And it's taken a while to get there, but I think that is the beauty of being not only in a group with amazing guys, but being in a group that isn't looking for a quick fix. You know what I mean? This isn't like it's not a 30-day boot camp or anything like that. This is something that we're in for the long haul. And obviously we've been together now in this group for a year, and a lot happens in a year. A lot changes in a year, not only for you as an individual, but the guys around you, and then as such, like you as a collective. And I feel like we've all been on a journey, and in that journey there's been some ups, there's been some downs, and I definitely felt some really epic downs in that time. And I've said it to you guys many a time. Like for me, like I honestly don't know what I would have done without the group in those down times, and it was downs that everyone goes through, at some point, like grief, loss, things like that. And I just felt like I had everything I needed to get through it, and that's priceless when you feel so low. I think if you've just got that little bit of you that feels like I'm in the right place, and I feel safe here, I feel supported here, and I believe I'm going to come out the other side. Like that for me is like just worth its weight in gold. And I think like that's something that I've always had as part of this group, is like complete safety and nothing but support. Do you see what I mean? And that for me is like, that was what I needed in this last 12 months, and it's not something that I've had before. I felt supported in some respects in the past, but like for me it was just that, it was the safety element, like zero judgment, to feel like I could just get it all out there. Everything that needed to get out like came out.
Amazing. Because we've been part of similar groups before, right? But what do you think the difference is with this group compared to some of the ones that we've been in before?
Yeah, I mean, like I think it's important that we acknowledge that, right? Like I think we've all kind of been on a journey like prior to this group, that's kind of brought us to this point. But like for me, it was a few things. I think number one, like the controlled numbers was a really big deal. I think like other groups that I've been part of, the numbers just got too big. It just felt a little bit much. It felt a bit chaotic. Things got lost, and not to sound needy, but at times you kind of felt like you weren't really being heard, because it was just getting lost amongst like too much noise. And then you were finding yourself having to like bump things up and tag people, and that was one element. So I think the fact that this is like a container of 10 men made it like super manageable, you know not overwhelming as well for you as someone who wants to support another man. You know what I mean? It's like you didn't feel like there was just too much going on. I remember the days of like going onto my WhatsApp and it's like 256 unread messages, and I'm like, whoa. And that removed that, because of the controlled numbers here. So I think that was a really big one. And for me it was the super solid, clear commitment that we had as a group in terms of like, you know, our intention settings at the start of the week, you know, Monday before 12 p.m., like this is the commitment that 99% of the time, like we all stuck to, right? And then every Friday, 9 o'clock, we had our call. And there was other little kind of almost like other little standards in between all of that that we had all like agreed to as a group. And again, I think coming back to the fact that we had a really manageable number, that was easy to stay on top of, you know, and we would hold each other to that standard, be like, boys, you know, where's your intentions for the week, you know, and people would be, ah, yeah, you know, slip my mind, and then they'd get on it, whatever, you know, like that for me was, I loved that element of structure that felt like we were not only holding ourselves to a higher standard, but it's almost like we had each other's best interests at heart as well, to be like, hey, you know, where are you, what's going on, and you know, kind of like call each other up in that respect. And the other thing that I think has made such a huge difference is that I feel like this is our group. You know what I mean? It's not like, you know, I feel like we're all on a level and we can all support each other. You know, what, it's not like, oh, it's this person's group and there's a hierarchy. It just kind of felt like we were all like this, you know, we were all level. But we all have something to bring to the table. We all have areas of expertise, and as a collective, we were just able to support each other through the highs, lows, and God knows what else. And that for me was also like incredibly important. It was like 10 brothers together as one, rather than it being, you know, 9 brothers as part of one guy's group. Or do you see what I'm saying? Like, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think that the structure that we experimented with in terms of the facilitator changing every week, so it's not just one person leading the calls and teaching, it's like we all got something to give. We can all be leaders. And I've never been a part of that. And it was a bit of an experimental idea on my part to suggest that. But I think that has been a really great part of the group. Like that's, for me, that's number one. It's like that we all show up and be the leader each week. And the other one was that the adventure part, like the actual in-person, was absolutely committed, all 10 men in from day one. That was a year in advance in the diary, because I've been part of groups where like there's a sort of retreat, but then maybe only a few people from the group go, but like, no, this is a part of the 12 months. So I don't know if you could talk to that, like the adventure part and the rotational facilitator part.
Mate, honestly, like, I've been thinking a lot about this because obviously we've been back from Slovenia for like a couple of weeks now, you know, and I've just been processing it. I haven't stopped talking about it, you know, the whole thing. And like first and foremost, I mean, I'll start with the adventure part. Like Slovenia for me is up there. That trip with you boys was like, it's up there as like one of the most memorable times of my entire life up until this point. Like,
Me
and
too.
again, yeah, like, and I think we were all on that same page, right, afterwards, because we packed so much in. And yeah, like, oh, honestly, like the balance of the whole trip for me, like, it's almost like I'm probably doing people's head ins here when I'm talking about it. They're probably like, all right, man, calm down now. You had an amazing week, we get it. But like for me, it was like just the way that it all came together. But I often like think like, oh man, like as amazing as that trip was, like what was really amazing was that it happened towards the end of our 12 months. Because I'm not saying it wouldn't have been a great week had it happened sooner, but I feel like it had such an impact because of the journey we'd been on in the build up to it. And like you said, it was like, you know, it was locked in almost immediately, right? We had this commitment, and it was like, right, these are the dates for Slovenia. Get them in your diary, make this commitment, book the time off work, get your travel locked in. And it was this thing that we were like looking forward to, but like anything, it's like, oh, it's ages away, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then next thing you know, it's here. But I think like everything that we did as a group, as a brotherhood, like up until that point, made it what it was. And I don't feel it would have been as impactful had it been 6 months earlier or whatever. You know, and just to kind of share, you know, what was 6 days with an amazing group of guys from all different like backgrounds, careers, ages, and stuff like that, and for everything to just, well, I mean, just click. Like, I don't know about you, mate, but like it felt effortless the whole week. You know what I mean? Which is obviously like largely thank you to you and Mike and Jim, who were kind of like, you know, in charge of organising this event, or this trip. And it just was like everything clicked. It just was easy. It just flowed like logistically, and you know there was a beautiful mix of outdoor activity. We trained together. We enjoyed a few beers, ate untold food, and had some really, really deep conversations. You know, we laughed together, we cried together. You know, it was just, to me, it was just like this perfect blend. It wasn't one thing or the other, and it just ticked all the boxes for me. But with regards to what you were saying about the weekly call, again, like what I loved about that, mate, was like it was not only just like seeing the evolution of me, because at first I remember thinking, what the bloody hell am I gonna talk about? You know what I mean? Like, you know, in this group of like, you know, like 9 other like amazing guys that, you know, I guess this is like the imposter syndrome, like, you know, of like, oh, you know, look where they are, look where I am, what do I bring to the table? But that's kind of like my own part X, my own story getting the better of me. But I remember I went from being quite nervous about my calls and putting a lot of pressure on myself to then really looking forward to my calls and being like, right, yeah, this is what I'm going to do, and having it all mapped out and getting and feeling really excited about it. And all of a sudden, like, the nerves were gone. It was something that I was like, almost felt like I thrived in. And like I said, I saw that in other men as well. You know, almost like a bit of unease towards the beginning. But then as the rotation went on, because obviously 10 of us every 10 weeks, it's your call. And just guys just getting more and more comfortable, more and more confident, and getting a bit more creative, and stepping out of their own comfort zone in that respect. You know, as the calls went on, and it's like, you know, again, I went from at first being like, oh, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I wish someone else would just host the call and we just turn up and get involved. But again, it comes back to that, like, no, bit of discomfort, lean into it, do the things you don't normally do. And in this case, like, it became something that we all got better at and we all looked forward to, you know. Well, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but that's the impression I get anyway.
Yeah, I think it's unique, that the model that we've created there, and it makes me think back to the trip as well. Obviously, like me and Jim and Mike, we were like the trip organisers, and it wasn't just me, you know, like, or it wasn't just one person. Then you and Ian and Matt, you were doing the food, and I really like how we made it happen. It wasn't like, I've been to retreats, I've been on quite a lot of trips like this, and I share your sentiment. It was, I would say, okay, just making sure my wife doesn't hear, it was one of the best weeks of my life, you know, and it was partly because we made it happen. It's not like, I've been to retreats where you go into like one lovely venue with swimming pool and everything's cooked for you, we didn't really go anywhere though. But like, this was different because we sorted the food. Like, we became a brotherhood sorting ourselves out, and that made us step up. And it was also just like, it was also just fucking good fun. Like, a lot of the treats I've been on, they're amazing deep work, but they don't have the fun bit. And I think as men, we, like most of the guys that we might know, they might just do the fun bit. Yeah, they might just drink and watch football, you know, the stag do element of it. But then they would miss the deep work. And and then it's almost like the adventure, adrenaline, comfort zone stuff. And it's like we sort of put together those three things into a perfect hybrid. Yeah.
Mate, honestly, like that's when I try and tell people about it, that's how I describe it. I'm like, you almost took like a fitness retreat with an activity holiday, with a stag do, with a deep, meaningful, like meditative retreat, put it all in together, and that was our Slovenia trip. And for me, like, I'm like, get almost the perfect combination based on the journey that I've been on. I don't want to just go and get drunk, but equally I don't want to just go and train every day. I don't want to sit in silence doing breath work all day every day. I like all of those things. So for me it's like whack them all together. Happy days.
Yeah, and like I guess what the guys that would want to be in a group like that, they would be. It's quite. It's. I'm so grateful to have found people that like all those things. Do you know what I mean? Because like I've got friends who like one of those things. Like I've got like really spiritual friends who wouldn't come and drink beer and chat shit with me, and then I've got like people I know who are like super into fitness, but like someone who actually owns a business and is into the deep work and wants to chat shit and drink a bit of beer and go on an adrenaline adventure. Like I feel so grateful I found people that I can actually be with and be my true self with. And that's what I saw in you on the week away. You were so you on steroids, and it's like, how do we bring that back into the world?
Oh mate, like, because honestly, like I came back and I remember thinking I didn't realize how much I needed that. You know what I mean? Like we all, of course, like we all need our friends and we all need to have a good bit of banter and we need to do the deep work. We need to train, like we need to all of this stuff. But it was more for me. It's like I needed to be with 9 other blokes for a week and just, have a really good laugh. But then, have some really deep, meaningful conversations. Like I know every single one of the guys there, and I knew them before this last year, some more than others, some longer than others. But like that week together, that 6 days together, like I think just brought us all like so much closer. Like I even learned, I mean, I've known you for like 3 years now, Luke, and I learned things about you in that 6 days that I had no idea. And I was like, wow, like, isn't that amazing? Like even after all this time, there's still so much we don't know about each other because it hasn't come up maybe, or maybe we just haven't had the time because there's just other stuff going on and
40
life's
years
doing,
to catch up on, yeah.
yeah. And that for me was it was really amazing, like to get to know everyone that little bit better, but in such an incredible environment.
And I guess what I'm doing after this call, meeting the new
That,
team to plan Madeira 2027.
oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Mate. So who's
Because
that then?
that's,
Sam?
yeah, Sam and Jack and me.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like we're all like, well, we're all in for year two, and that's what feels really good as well. It's like it feels like I don't want this to ever end. If I'm honest, like I
No.
want people who are like me, who will bring me a loving energy when I need it. I want that in my life forever now. It's
Snaps,
so
mate.
special.
Yeah, I honestly, I mean, like it's, not to, not to sound dependent, but I'd almost be like, what the bloody hell would I do if this was taken away from me now? Like it's, and in many respects, like, I'm literally just thinking out loud now, mate. Like, because obviously this is something we all pay for. We're invested financially as well as with like our time commitment, but it's like like this is priceless to me. Do you know what I mean? Like this is absolutely like priceless to me, and it is. I'm like, isn't it incredible that like that these friendships have developed, but in such a way that's like still got this real like professional element to it. This element of like pure like love and support, but with all the other stuff you want from a friendship. You know what I mean? Like I said, like the banter, the beer, the jokes, the talking shit about God knows what else that has absolutely nothing to do with personal development or business or whatever. And like you, mate, I'm like, yeah, this has to stay now. You know what I mean? it
Mm.
can't.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
can't.
that's kind of why I've got all in my life, professional life. I'm all in. Like, I just want to create more of these because I just think it's so valuable. And like if you don't mind me saying, you said it yourself. You were in a dark spot for a while, and there are plenty other guys in that spot. And it's like, I know that you tried some other modalities to help you, and actually, the thing that really shifted was really being in person, chatting shit and doing deep work. And then there was probably in the like from day one, you were like full Matt, awesome bareness. But like suddenly, probably like towards the end, I was like, no, actually, you're coming out of your cloud. You really are. And is there? I don't think there was probably one thing that you would say was a turning point, but was it just like a combination? Because when you got back, and I thought, oh, maybe when you go home, that dark cloud might come back over you, but it hasn't, and that's so great.
Mate, I honestly feel like I'm still very much riding the wave. I'm still up there. I mean, don't get me wrong, mate. It's not to say that everything's sorted now. Like, there's some aspects of my life that are still in a real pickle. There's no two ways about it. But the difference is now, I feel like I have the foundations to to get through them. Whereas before I didn't. I felt defeated. I felt hopeless. I honestly felt like I felt empty. I had this emptiness inside me that was felt so alien to me. Because don't get me wrong, like I've not been out without my like fair share of life drama like everybody else, but I've always had that element of resilience and gone like, yeah, but we're gonna come out the other side. Like it's gonna be okay. It's pretty shitty right now, but we're gonna get there. And that had gone. It had gone. I just like not to go too dark, but I was genuinely like, what is the point of this life? If this is my life, then I don't know what I'm sticking around for. Because every day, like, I shared with you guys beforehand. I mean, this just kind of shows you how impactful that week was for me, because on our last call before the trip, I shared with the group that I was close to not coming because I was in such a bad place. I didn't see the point. I was like, why do I want to? I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be this dark energy. I don't want to be around. I didn't feel like I could be around people whose maybe life was actually going well, because I felt like I was in such a hole. I was like, I can't deal with that right now. Like, and it's madness to think I almost didn't go on this trip because
I would
of
have got on a plane and come and got you by the. If I could possibly have dragged your hunky body, I would have done. You said it's funny, like you said, oh, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer on the trip. Like, what's the opposite of a Debbie Downer? A Debbie Upper? I don't know, because that's actually as soon as you were out there, you were like the life and soul of the party kind of guy. That's what it felt like to me.
well, to be fair, mate, it was like, again, it was like, that saying, like, you're your own worst enemy. Like, I was being my own worst enemy. I was almost like getting in the way of what ended up becoming like a life-changing trip for me. And as soon as I got there, I remember thinking, I'm in my element right now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm with nine other guys who I absolutely love. We're in an incredible country. We've got the most amazing schedule ahead of us, and it was just such a bloody laugh, like non-stop. And like, I remember when I got back, I kept laughing to myself, thinking, God, like, imagine you didn't go on that trip. You know what I mean? Like, but it was all because like I'd created this massive block, within myself. And and like I said, I was. I mean, you boys all said to me on the call, you were like, there is absolutely no way we're not letting you come on this trip. Like, like you're coming whether you like it or not, type thing. And I think deep down I knew I was going to go, but I was just wanting to be open with the group and kind of like share where my head was at. And then I've now come back, and all of a sudden it's like the fire's back, the hope is back. I don't feel empty anymore. Like, and again, I'm not saying that I've come back with all the answers. I haven't come back and all the problems that I had before have just disappeared. They haven't. But again, like, the difference is now I'm like, I feel like I've got it in me to tackle them. And furthermore, like, I was a shit partner, man. Like, before I went away, I felt so empty. I felt like I couldn't even be there for, like, my girl, well, fiance, of like, we've been together for 18 years. And I remember feeling so guilty at how I was showing up in our relationship, because, like I said, I just felt like I had nothing. I was like, I can't even I can't even support myself at the minute, like let alone somebody else. And that was a horrible feeling, because I've always prided myself of always having enough in the tank to look after her, to look out for her, and to give her the level of support that she needs, even if, like, I'm, running on empty. And even that had gone, and I felt so awful about that. And again, I was a bit like, that classic thought of she'd be far better off without me, because right now, like, I'm not contributing. I'm just draining. It was dark. It was negative. It was not a place that I wanted to stay. And I'd be lying if I said I hadn't thought about, on numerous occasions, about taking like the easy way out. But I didn't, obviously, and I'm glad I didn't. And I'm really pleased that now I feel like, yeah, that fight is back. It's there, and all of a sudden it's like, what before was seen as like a really overbearing problem, I'm like, no, this is, it's just an obstacle, and I'm gonna get over it. I'm gonna get round it. And it's largely thank you to this group and you guys and this whole experience. And
Thank you for
not
sharing,
not
man.
not to sound like I'm like, just like, tooting your horn, but you bloody deserve it, because I've lost count of like how much money I've spent on therapy sessions and things like that, over the years. And I don't want to say none of it helped me, because like, I'm sure there was something in there for sure, but nothing really seemed to click for me. Like, and I kind of felt like the therapy was like, it was keeping me in my past too much. I'm not saying like we dismissed the past or anything like that, but I was almost like, no, just what, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. And whereas now, because I feel like I don't know, like I feel like everything that we do, like it wants to move us forward. It acknowledges the past, but it wants to move us forward. And that's what's been really empowering for me, like, is to go like, yes, that's the past. There's some amazing bits, there's some shit bits, there's a ton of in between bits, but like, this is where we are now, and this is where we're going. And coincidentally, I was reading through, so I have a separate notebook for our calls each week, and each guy that is hosting the call, like, obviously I take notes. And just this morning, I was going through the notes because I was trying to find something in particular, and I came across one of the calls that Ben had run, and he spoke about the power of like focusing on a future version of you, because that has the biggest influence on the present moment. And it put a massive smile on my face, because like, I was like, yes, like, that's what it's all about. Like, I had been spending far too much time in the past, in things that have been gone. I can't do nothing about them now. And it was almost like that was keeping me in the past. It was keeping me fearful in the present moment. Whereas actually, if you allow yourself to go, well, no, who's that guy in the future? Who's that Matt, like, next year? Because, and that was a great chat, like we all said, didn't we, on our last day, like, where would we love to be when we're having this conversation on our trip in a year's time? And again, like, there was a time when I couldn't have even entertained that conversation, because I was like, well, I would have been like, I don't even want to be here, let alone like in a year's time. Whereas, like, to have that conversation and go like, yes, actually, this is what I would love to say in a year's time, and then get excited about it, it's powerful, man. It's powerful to have hope and excitement for the future.
Oh, I can feel that from you. That's so exciting and so great to hear you say that. It's really interesting because, as you know, I'm building another group now, and it's like you sort of get your analysis hat on as to what made this group so good, so successful, what made the trip so effective. Because we've all come back with renewed fire. We've all, I've seen people make the biggest offers they've ever made in the business, and these like high level guys. Like Ben's a high level coach. He's like probably tripled what he's offering now because he's just got this renewed confidence in himself. And other people like yourself, you said your work's really been a lot more focused. You got a bit more ambition coming out of you. And for me too, just making that decision to go all in on this, I'm like, and it was funny because we all knew that like you needed to come to Slovenia, but like, and I knew it was going to be the thing that was the turning point for you, but I didn't know how. It's not like I'm teaching you, or any of us are teaching any of us how to be a great man or anything like that. There's this sort of emerging theory, I guess, in my mind. So it's like, if you get a group of really good guys together, like who really want to be committed to something, the brotherhood itself is the teacher. It's like we all want to be the best we can be for our family and in our life externally, but also for each other, and like putting us together in a group in person is like that on steroids. And it's like, oh, I feel really proud that we have discovered this. I feel like we discovered something.
I couldn't agree more. Like, and it's like you said, it's like, I think one of the questions you asked me was like, what do you think was like a real turning point for you? And I honestly don't think I could pinpoint it to a particular thing. It was just an accumulation of this journey, an accumulation of like the conversations that we had when we were in Slovenia, and there was a lot of them. But also like, there's something to be said for like, as much as like, I mentioned earlier, support and safety, like we also need we need to be challenged by people. And I think that's something else that this group does really, really well, is like we challenge each other's narrative. Like we challenge the stories, we challenge the barriers and the obstacles that we put in place. And like, you can't put a price on that, because I mean, I'm a coach as well, as well. I'm in the health and fitness industry, like I work with like one-to-one clients and groups. And this is something that often comes up with like, in my work, is like people create these stories and narratives around, their nutrition, their exercise, like, their health, their weight, whatever it may be. And they need to be challenged on that. You know what I mean? Rather than someone going, oh yeah, of course, yeah, you got a lot on. Yeah, it makes sense why you didn't do that. And, it's nice to have a bit of compassion, but you can have compassion with challenge. And that for me is probably one of the biggest things from this group, because I think as I'm saying this out loud, I think I can pinpoint it to a turning point for me. Was we were all talking, I think it was on the second night maybe, or maybe it was the first official night, and I was kind of like, doing that classic thing of like, like telling what my story was, or my version of a story. And I'm pretty sure it was Ben again who said, yeah, but like, you can change that. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't have to be, that might be your story up until this point, but it doesn't need to be your story going forward. And it was just hearing him say it, I was like, he's absolutely right. I'm almost like talking like, this is it now. This is my story forever. And I think like just having someone that pulls you up on your language and just interjects and goes, hey, yeah, but...
Or 9 people, yeah.
Or 9 people, yeah. Like, and that for me is like, it's what we need. We don't need to be surrounded by people that just constantly reinforce the story that we're telling ourselves that's keeping us where we are. We need someone to go, and how many times did this happen in Slovenia? How many times has this happened on this 12 months together? Like someone going, yeah, I'm not having that. I'm going to challenge you on that. And then they just come back with something. But it's always from a place of love and support, always.
It's coming from a loving energy, and there's no point in being defensive, because the guy is not saying it because he wants anything from you. He's saying it because he sees something in you greater than what you're doing. And we do that all day long, every day. There's challenge like that, and and I think a lot of men just don't have it. especially people who are their own boss. Like no one, and that's one of the reasons I joined my first men's group about 6 years ago. It was like no one was telling me what to do. No one was supporting or witnessing my journey or challenging me, and I felt really alone with that. And I think particularly business owners or aspiring business owners, they need that because they're not going to get it from their friends or their wife, or not quality anyway.
No.
And I think that's a huge part of the group. I agree. Yeah. Mate, this was a really great conversation. Is there anything like you wanted to end on?
Just thank you, man. Like, honestly, because as much as I say, like, this group is, it's our group, it wouldn't have existed without you. Like, we all like know each other. We've all been on a bit of a journey, but it was you that kind of like took immediate action off the back of like an idea that was to kind of bring us all together and create this group. And yeah, I mean, to say you were proactive is like just the biggest understatement of the year. And it was like what went from like I've got an idea to our very first call with 10 guys there was like, that was all you, man. And like I said, like I don't know where I'd be right now without this group. So you have my eternal gratitude, mate.
Oh, thank you, man. And I honestly feel like it's totally changed my life as well. It was an idea, and it was like, that would be good, that'd be fun. But like now, I realize it's like this is what I want my life to be like, and that's life changing for me to realize that just in Slovenia, really, on a waterfall.
I know.
That was a big waterfall.
It was.
Yeah. Oh, all right, man. Well, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much. And I shall
Likewise,
see you
man.
on Friday.
Yes, mate. Take care, man.
Take care. I'm just going to stop now. Mate, that was fucking epic.